These wires can fail and not look broken. These are fusible links. There is a failure mode hiding in every classic GM, Ford, and Mopar on the road right now. It looks like a wire, it tests like a wire, and when it fails, your entire electrical system dies. And it might come back with no explanation. This isn't a ghost in the machine, it's a fusible link telling you it's done. And I even did a little bit of a pull test and found a joint that just absolutely let go on me. Most of the time, you go checking for a bad ground or a faulty switch or a failing relay, because that's what the symptoms look like. And it's easy to miss when a fusible link begins to fail or fails partially. And that break could make everything downstream act really strange. And things may fail when you go over a bump or the car cools down, and when it does, things start to work again. And because they look like a wire, they almost never get checked until something really fails. And when they burn up, it's oftentimes hard to find because of where these things usually are. Now, a fusible link is a short section of wire, usually 2 to 4 gauges smaller than the circuit that it's protecting, and it's also got a different kind of insulation that allows it to fail differently. Because it is a smaller gauge, it doesn't carry as much current as that big 10 gauge wire can, so when something fails, it can support the load for a little bit before it completely fails. Unlike a fuse that as soon as it sees that spike in amperage, it pops. The fusible link is a little bit more of a slow burn, so if there's a high amperage load, it can tolerate it for a brief moment. And it has to be rubberier to be able to tolerate the heat and load that wire sees. And when it's new and healthy, it's pliable and bends like it's supposed to. But when it's soaked in oil and cooked with header heat, it becomes very compromised very quickly. And on most GMs, the harness snakes along the bell housing and goes to where the starter would be, right by the hot exhaust, right where oil from the valve covers can drip on it. And not to mention, it makes changing the starter an absolute pain, getting all those connections back in place. And sometimes fusible links don't just fail open, they fail like the wire is a little broke in every flex. You get contact, no contact, contact, no contact. You see what I'm saying, right? And when you're troubleshooting it, everything looks right. The battery's tight, all the connections there are tight. You've got power in the right places. At least you do at that moment you check. And if you own a classic GM like any of mine, that's a failure point that is an absolute disaster to find. And here's where things get interesting. Different manufacturers do different kinds of wire. GMs, typically when those fusible links fail in the big way and really burn up, the insulation becomes rubbery like, used chewing gum. Other times, if it's been replaced or other manufacturers, it may burn and blister and crack. You know there's a problem, but when it just goes burn, it's a lot harder to tell that there's a problem there. At least until you start testing it anyways. And if you're ever working on one, do the pull test. See if it's springy and stuff. Otherwise, don't be afraid to pull out your meter and check the continuity, the resistance of the wire, make sure that it's not showing excessive resistance. And if you have the ability to do a voltage drop test, do that. That can show you if there's excessive resistance inside the fusible link or its connections. Engineers knew that was a problem. That fusible link was a pain in the butt to find. So by the 90s, they started to move from a fusible link wire to a replaceable cartridge that essentially does the same job, but it's replaceable a lot faster and cleaner than a fusible link. But keep in mind, if there's something that drew enough amperage to pop a fusible link, you probably ought to figure out what's causing the problem and fix that. Now, for those of us playing with the classics, we're kind of stuck with the fusible link unless we modify it and update it to something better. This is my 1982 El Camino. It's been heavily modified, rebuilt 28 ways. I mean, where's the cylinder heads right now, right? But I've put in a lot of work on this car, and some of the things that have been changed is the wiring harness has been updated from where it was originally. The battery's now at the back. The fusible links are in a place that's a lot easier to get to now. Some of that wiring has been on this car since I was 17 years old, and it works. Mostly. And the vast majority of the wiring harness is still original, which is a good thing because all the color codes match on the wiring diagrams. And because the original harness has been modified so much, there's some things in here from 17-year-old me that makes current me cringe. Some of it's really not pretty, and I've got a chance to do it right now. One of those decisions 17-year-old me made was to move that fusible link and stuff off of the starter down low by the headers, where it gets hot, and it's a pain in the butt to get to. I moved it up top where it was a lot more serviceable to get to, but I didn't make it as pretty as it needs to be. Today I'm going to fix that and show you one of the most overlooked parts of classic car wiring protection. And if I had to diagnose an intermittent failure on this, I'd have a problem. And I even did a little bit of a pull test and found a joint that just absolutely let go on me. So let's strip this guy down. I think that's a 12 or 14 gauge. Yep, 14 is the magic number right there. So let's do the same over here. Got it. And now the next thing I'm going to do is get the butt connector crimped onto that guy. And then I'm going to crimp this other end on. But first, I'm going to get some heat shrink on there because that's important. That guy in there. Solid pull test. And now we've got a good connection right there. And now that that's taken care of, we can move on to addressing the rest of the stuff on this car and getting it run nicely. One of the first things that was on a fusible link was the voltage sensing wire from the alternator. The voltage sensing wire for the alternator can very easily come to the power terminal right here. Now with the first fusible link one done, let's get that anchored back down. Let's move to this guy. Let's just cut here, give myself a little bit extra length because we can make it shorter, easier than we can make it longer. And now, I've got to go harvest this fusible link and put a ring terminal on the end of it. Here's the connection, and of course that's not going to cut so nice because my cutters are getting dull from age. Imagine that. Nice and solid. There, that's ready to rock. Oh, God. Look at how hideous that is. The next fusible link is now in place here. I'm just getting it sized up, and I was smart. I went and found my sharper cutters. So let's give ourselves just a tiny bit extra room and not pinch myself because that would hurt. Oh, that's so much nicer. And I'll come back and heat shrink all of these at once. One more wire. Alright, tug test. Works. Now to heat shrink everything down. And I want to address, why the heck am I using heat shrink that has multiple colors instead of black? Well, this stuff is a little unique. It's adhesive lined, and it tends to glue things down and together a bit better than normal just black heat shrink that you find off the shelf anywhere you go. And I think it makes for a very good, solid, hard connection. It takes all the strain off of the joints itself. Now the harness is still a bit ugly. So what I'm gonna do is take some of this cloth harness wrap, and this is not normal electrical tape. I'm also going to stop this before I get to the fusible links, because if there's a problem with a fusible link, I want to be able to see it and not have it buried in a harness. Pretty happy with that in the overall scheme of things. It just looks many times better. The other last thing is now to take the insulated hose clampy dealies, hold on to the wiring harness. So now that I've got all those connections made, I'm going to grab my son. We're going to do some electrical diagnostic stuff and make sure that everything is the way that it should. Now that was a little bit of a job, but it's nice to have that all taken care of. And now I know that those fusible links are going to hold. There were a couple that when I took them apart, those connections were questionable from 17-year-old me. Now they're solid, now they're connected, now they're ready to rock. And the fusible links, as you can see, are not a bad thing to have. It's just an overarching protection for the car that ensures that if something fails, it fails at a point where it's safe to fail. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, check this video out over here about how to find electrical gremlins in 10 minutes.